Why do certain people keep reappearing in your life, even when you think their story with you is finished? Why do the same emotional patterns, relationship dynamics, or life challenges return, only with new faces and slightly different forms? Modern psychology explains this as emotional patterning. We unconsciously recreate familiar experiences in an attempt to resolve unprocessed emotions. The mind prefers what it knows, even if it causes pain, because familiarity feels safe. But Ibn Arabi offers a deeper, metaphysical explanation. What appears as repetition in time is not mere psychological habit. It is a reflection of consciousness in motion. The same people are not coincidences, they are mirrors, showing you aspects of yourself you have yet to recognize. To understand why life seems to repeat itself, why you keep meeting the same energies in new forms, we must first examine what Ibn Arabi meant by time itself. For him, time was not linear, but reflective in the modern worldview. Time is imagined as a straight line. The past leads to the present, and the present leads to the future. Events are seen as external and sequential, and identity is viewed as stable, single, continuous self-traveling through time. Yet neuroscience paints a very different picture. The brain does not experience time continuously. It constructs it internally, using what's known as the default mode network, the system responsible for replaying memory, imagining the future, and maintaining the sense of me. This means that we live not in the flow of objective time, but in self-generated temporal loops. Psychologically, this produces what Freud called repetition, compulsion, the tendency to unconsciously repeat unresolved emotional experiences. The nervous system seeks recognition, not novelty. It prefers the familiar over the unknown. As a result, people attract the same relational dynamics, the same conflicts, even the same personalities, until awareness breaks the pattern. We mistake these recurrences for external destiny when, in fact, they reveal an inner recurrence, the recycling of perception itself. Ibn Arabi approached this problem differently. His question was not, why do experiences repeat, but what is time that allows anything to appear as repetition at all? Ibn Arabi, the 13th century Andalusian philosopher and mystic, described time as the dynamic expression of being. He rejected the idea of time as a container that events move through. Instead, he described it as the continuous self-disclosure of existence, the way being reveals itself moment by moment. Each instant is a complete creation. The universe, according to Ibn Arabi, is being recreated at every breath. Yet human consciousness, bound by memory and habit, perceives this renewal as continuity in this model. There is no true repetition in reality, only the reappearance of similar patterns within the field of awareness. The world renews itself at every instant, but because perception filters this renewal through memory, it seems repetitive. Thus, when you meet the same people again and again, it is not the cosmos. Looping it is consciousness, reflecting its own unintegrated patterns through the mirror of existence. Ibn Arabi taught that creation is renewed at every breath. This means the world you perceive now did not exist a moment ago. Every instant is a new manifestation of being. Modern neuroscience supports this with remarkable precision. Perception occurs in discrete frames, roughly every 100 milliseconds, but the brain stitches these frames together into what feels like continuous time. In other words, perception is constantly reassembled from micro-moments. Our sense of continuity is therefore a mental illusion, an interpretive overlay. Reality itself is discontinuous renewal. Only consciousness, through memory, gives it the appearance of flow. From this perspective, no person you meet is ever truly the same. The individual, like the world, is recreated anew in every instant. What repeats is not the person, it is your pattern of recognition. According to Ibn Arabi, every encounter is a mirror in which the divine reflects aspects of your own consciousness. The world is a system of reflections. Each person you meet corresponds to a configuration of your inner reality. In modern psychological terms, this aligns with projection and transference. When you attribute certain qualities to others' control, rejection, love, or superiority are actually encountering hidden dimensions of your own psyche. For example, repeatedly meeting controlling individuals may not indicate bad luck, but a deeper internal issue. Your relationship to autonomy or authority remains unresolved. In Ibn Arabi's framework, these recurring personalities are not random. They are mirrors placed in your path by being itself, allowing the self to recognize what it has not yet integrated. To meet the same person is to encounter, once again, an unresolved aspect of yourself. Ibn Arabi saw time as circular, not linear. What seems like progression is often a return, a rencounter with the same archetypal experiences from new levels of consciousness. He viewed human life as a cycle of recognition. Each soul revisits certain patterns until its perception becomes complete. The apparent recurrence of people and situations is not punishment, but pedagogy, the soul's learning mechanism. Modern depth psychology echoes this idea. Carl Jung's theory of individuation suggests that recurring life patterns push the psyche toward wholeness. You meet similar circumstances, again, not because you failed, but because you are ready to understand them more deeply. Think of this as developmental looping. Like a spiral, the same themes return, but each time at a higher level of awareness. You are not trapped in repetition. You are circling toward integration. Ibn Arabi wrote, "Time belongs to the one who is present." In his philosophy, presence breaks the illusion of recurrence. When awareness stabilizes in the now, the self no longer identifies with the narrative that repeats, it perceives the perpetual renewal of creation. From a neuroscientific perspective, this aligns with findings about practices like mindfulness deactivate the brain's default mode network, the circuitry that generates autobiographical thought and repetition of mental patterns. When this network quiets, perception becomes immediate rather than filtered through past and future. Ibn Arabi's insight, therefore, has a modern equivalent. Repetition stops when perception becomes present. Time loops end not when external conditions change, but when consciousness ceases to recreate them through habitual interpretation. In this state, you begin to perceive the world not as a recurring pattern, but as an ever-renewing process. This leads to a philosophical question. If every moment is new, why does experience feel repetitive? Ibn Arabi's answer lies in understanding memory. Memory is not simply a storage of the past. It is a cognitive process that stitches discrete instants into a narrative. It binds moments together and creates identity. From a modern perspective, neuroscientists describe memory as reconstructive. The brain does not retrieve events as they were. It recreates them through existing schemas. Thus, what appears as repetition is not recurrence in the world, but the persistence of perception within the mind. The external world is being renewed continuously, but awareness replays its own content, like a projector reusing the same film reel on a new screen. Therefore, when you meet the same person again, it is not the world repeating. It is your perceptual model reproducing familiar patterns. Time, in this framework, is not something that passes, it is what unfolds through attention. When attention becomes liberated from memory and expectation, it experiences timelessness. To see time as it truly is to recognize that renewal, not repetition, is the essence of existence. Modern psychology confirms Ibn Arabi's insight from a different angle. The brain operates through predictive models. It constantly anticipates what will happen next based on what has happened before. This is adaptive for survival but restrictive for awareness. When emotion or trauma remains unresolved, it feeds these predictive loops, generating similar outcomes, partners, and circumstances. To break the cycle, awareness must interrupt prediction and reintroduce novelty. Step 1. Recognize recurring relational or emotional themes without self. This activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, enabling regulation rather than reaction. Step 2. Shift perspective. Instead of viewing repeated encounters as fate or punishment, interpret them as feedback, reflections of your evolving consciousness. Step 3. Through mindfulness or remembrance, anchor attention in the present moment. Studies show that such practices reduce activity in repetitive neural circuits and enhance cognitive flexibility. As awareness deepens, emotional reactivity declines. You stop attracting the same dynamics because the perceptual framework that sustained them dissolves. The same people no longer reappear because the self that required their reflection has transformed. What appears as repetition in life is not the universe looping it, is consciousness reflecting its own unfinished perception. Ibn Arabi teaches that time itself is not repetitive. Only our awareness is. The world renews itself every instant, but the mind, through memory, perceives continuity. When awareness matures, repetition becomes recognition. You see that what returns is not the same event, but the same self. Seeking understanding through mirrored experience from a modern lens. This is the transition from reactive living to reflective living, from unconscious recurrence to conscious evolution. The world does not repeat. It reflects. And the people you keep meeting are not accidents. They are the unfinished verses of your own being, asking to be read with new eyes.